Welcome to Respect You. During this 20-minute presentation, we will revisit the themes you experienced during pieces of the puzzle at New Student Convocation and introduce you to some resources that may be of assistance to you or your peers throughout your time at the university. We want to set you up to support yourself, others, and allow you to create your own experience. We have a diverse campus, and this is a great place to learn from one another. Please note this presentation may contain sensitive material. Please practice self-care and seek assistance as necessary. There are student advocates in the hallways if you need to talk to someone.
If my inside were my outside, then no one would know.
في لحظة واحدة.
In a first look.
What I am.
Or more important,
Who I am.
We all know there's harassment. It builds up many walls.
It happens in the classroom.
in organizations.
En los dormitorios.
But if my inside were my outside, we could change this reality.
Because you would have to forget all the stereotypes.
And just concentrate on me.
If my inside were my outside, then you couldn't
Judge me.
Label me. Make assumptions.
من غير ما تسألني أسئلة الأول.
And you would want to ask me, because it would be the only way to know.
What I think.
What I feel.
What I love.
Lo que odio.
What movies I like to watch.
What food I like to eat.
الأغاني اللي بحب أسمعها.
What language I like to speak.
If my inside were my outside,
then the first thing you'd see wouldn't be
My color.
صدري.
My walk. Mes cheveux.
my talk.
If
my inside were my outside,
Then you wouldn't make mistaken assumptions.
Estoy aquí para casarme.
I can't manage on my own.
Of course I want a beer.
أنا هنا في منحة.
I'm sensitive by nature.
I have no deep feelings.
I shouldn't be called on in class.
أحسن لك تتلبس بابك كويس.
I'll understand and tolerate your jokes. I have money and you can't have it.
I'll probably get an STD.
I'll only sit with people like me.
I'll use my body as a resume.
If my inside were my outside,
Then I wouldn't be afraid.
To walk by myself alone.
To sit with you in the cafe.
إن أرفع إيدي في المحاضرة.
To let you know who I am.
To go to parties where I'm outnumbered.
To see a teacher after class.
إن أبقى ذاتي الحقيقية.
To not always fit in. To start investigating my own life instead of measuring myself up to yours.
if my inside were my outside,
Then you really wouldn't know.
you would have to get to know me first. You'd have to start by saying hello.
And after you got to know me, you may still find I'm a jerk.
But you couldn't just assume it.
It would take a little work.
And you might find out.
I'm beautiful.
You might find out that in the end,
You'll get something you hadn't counted on.
You'll get yourself a friend.
We all know there's harassment. It builds up many walls.
It happens in the classroom.
في المؤسسات,
In the residence halls.
But if my inside were my outside, we could change this reality.
Because you would have to forget all the stereotypes.
And just concentrate on me.
All right, hello everybody. One more round of applause for my orientation leaders. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick English. I am a student program coordinator for the Office of Orientation and First Year Programs and a senior in the College of Design. Where are my CDA students at? All right, they're not the loudest bunch, but they're gonna be changing the world someday, so give them a round of applause. All right, so along with my partner Jordan and the rest of the OFYP staff, we've been planning this week since last September. And before we get going, I just want to point one thing out. One of you out there might have my job someday, so just think about that. And so anyway, Jenny and I have been planning Respect You since way back in September, like I said, and we've been on the search to find the perfect keynote speaker for today's event. And I think we found him. So for over 30 years, celebrated photographer Wing Young Huie has captured the complex cultural realities of American society. His work has been shown in international museums. Over 500,000 people have viewed his traveling exhibit in China and in Minnesota storefronts. His most well-known works, Lake Street USA and the University Avenue Project, transformed Minneapolis and St. Paul thoroughgrounds into a 6-mile photo gallery, reflecting on the everyday lives of thousands of citizens. Wing uses photography as a societal window and mirror, seeking to reveal not only what is hidden, but what is plainly visible and seldom noticed. By doing so, he provides a collective portrait of strangers, yet also portraits of us. As an extension of his public art installations that create informal communal spaces, in spring of 2011, he opened the Third Place Gallery, revitalizing a building that sat empty for 47 years and transforming it into an urban living room featuring guest artists spurring social conversations, followed by ping pong and karaoke. Now, without further ado, join me in welcoming Wing Young Huie to the stage.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you. Thank you. Just switching to my PowerPoint. I also give a lot of presentations. Has anyone here heard one of my presentations before? Did I come to your school? Handful of you. How did I do? All right, sounds good. So, I give a lot of presentations to all different age groups, K through 12, college, nonprofits, corporations, trying to understand how does what I do have value for anybody. I walk down the street and I photograph strangers, thousands of strangers. I'm always confronted with what was in my head, with what actually happens when I enter someone else's reality. I do something called What Do You See? I'm going to be asking you what you see in my photographs. And I believe there's no right or wrong interpretation because we all have different life experiences. We all see different things. But I think it's useful to understand what it is that you see and how does it differ from what other people see. And then to consider, why do you see what you see? How much of what you see has to do with your everyday life, and how much does it have to do with all of the images that you've seen, consumed in your lifetime, popular culture. But first, we're going to start with a photograph I didn't take. This is my family. Which one do you think is me? How many people think the guy standing is me? Raise your hand. Nobody? How many people think the guy sitting is me? A lot of sixth graders, they think that's me. How many people think the guy in the striped shirt is me? Okay. How many people think the guy with his hand in his pocket is me? Yeah, that's me. That's me with my hand in my pocket. I am the youngest in my family. How many people here are the youngest in your family? All right, yeah, just like me. In my family photographs, my sister, she always has this great big smile. That's a pretty nice smile, right? My older brother, the one on the right with striped shirt, that's not his best smile, but he actually won a smiling contest once. We have a family photograph of him holding a trophy for how well he smiled. Me, I always had the same expression. Yeah. How would you describe my expression? How many people think I look like I don't want to be there? How many people think I look bored? How many people think you look confused? A lot of sixth graders, they think I look confused. Well, there's me with the same expression. First day of public school. Everyone in my family was born in China, except me. I was born in Duluth. I am a native Minnesotan. How many people here have families born in another country? How many people here have parents born in another country, but you were born here? All right, just like me. We were the only Asian family in our neighborhood, and when I started school, this is my first day of school, public school, I was the only Asian person, not just in my first grade class, but I was the only Asian person in the entire school. This is my first grade class picture. Do you see me? Everyone pick me out? There I am. I'm in the second row, the fancy shirt on. In this photograph, let me ask you, do I look like I stick out? How many people think, you don't stick out at all? Let's be honest. How many people think, yeah, you kind of stick out? How many people think if it were in color, you'd stick out even more? How many people think, you're the only Asian kid in that photo, you really do stick out? All right. I think that is a complicated question. I think that is a loaded question. In a way, I've been trying to answer that question for over 30 years, trying to understand who sticks out, who fits in, and who gets to say. How many people feel that there are times in your life when you stick out? All right. People stick out for all kinds of reasons. The way you look, the way you dress, how you speak, where were you born, how much money do your parents have, your gender, what gender box were you born into, do you fit that box? Your abilities, your disabilities, and who gets to say what is an ability and what is a disability? What does it feel like when you stick out? How many people think it doesn't feel too bad? Actually can feel pretty good. How many people feel when you stick out, it can feel pretty bad? Who decides? Who decides if you stick out or not? Who decides? How many people think you decide? Most sixth graders, they go, I decide. How many people think it's the people around you who decide? How many people think society has something to say about who sticks out? I didn't think of any of this when I was growing up. I'm the only Asian student in my school. Till high school. High school, this other Asian dude shows up. 2 Asian boys at Duluth Central High School. When I saw this other student, I avoided him. How many people are going, that's kind of weird. Why would you avoid someone just because you think they look like you? I don't think at the time I even realized I was avoiding someone just because they look like me. I didn't think about this for years. When I was growing up, inside I thought I was like everyone else. But you don't grow up with a mirror in front of you. The people around you, they become your mirror. And more importantly, more profoundly, once I started becoming formed by American culture, Minnesota culture, pop culture, I didn't see many Asian boys in TV shows, movies, always bit parts, or kung fu movies. Popular culture did not reflect me or the realities of my family, but it was so overwhelming, I became what I saw. And so when I saw this other Asian student, I was really seeing myself for the first time. I thought, he looks different. He sticks out. Therefore, I must look different. And I did not want to think about that for years. A lot of how I grew up, I think, has shaped what I do as a photographer. Came to the University of Minnesota. Didn't know what I wanted to do. If you don't know what you want to do, you major in business. Then I decided I like writing. Maybe I can be a reporter. Journalism school. But when I was between my sophomore and junior year, I bought my first camera. Minolta, single lens reflex, film camera. I thought, well, I want to become a photographer now. I was already committed to my journalism major. I thought, well, I'll teach myself photography. Combine my BA in journalism with my self-taught photography skills, become a freelance journalist. My first subject was my mom. This is before they called it a selfie. You put a tripod on a camera, took a photograph of me and my mom. And then I started working for the Minnesota Daily, general assignment reporter. I did a two-part series on loneliness. Coming from Duluth to a campus of 50,000 people, I was kind of lonely, so I did a two-part series on loneliness. Then, after graduation, I took a photography course from Gary Winogrand. Anyone familiar with Gary Winogrand? Okay, he's an iconic street photographer. That's me there on the left. And during that one-week workshop, I thought, I want to become a street photographer like Gary Winogrand. And so, but instead, I became a commercial photographer. I cobbled together my journalism degree, my self-taught photography skills, and became a freelance journalist, and then, after a while, just focused on photography. I was doing weddings, I was doing graduation photographs, I was doing fashion, and then a lot of photojournalism. Took a while to make a living, full-time living. I was bartending for about 8 years. Finally was able to quit bartending, became a full-time photographer, and one of my main gigs was working for City Business newspaper every week, photographing business people. But I got a little frustrated because I wanted to be a street photographer like Gary Winogrand. And after several years for working for City Business, one day they called me in the office. They fired me. They were right to fire me because I had lost interest in what I was doing. I wasn't doing a good job. Best thing that happened to me, because then I started my first project. My first project was photographing the Frogtown neighborhood in St. Paul. Anyone here familiar with Frogtown? Yep, Frogtown neighborhood. A lot of immigrants, just like my family. So I decided I'm just going to walk down the street and photograph this diverse neighborhood. I had my camera gear, walk down the street, look like a professional photographer. I would tell people, I am photographing everyday life in your neighborhood. I'm going to have a public exhibition outside. Can I take your picture? If I walked up to you in your neighborhood, complete stranger, asked you this, how many people would go, sure, take my picture. I want to be in your exhibit. No, I don't see that many hands. A lot of people say no. Sometimes someone will call the police. Hey, there's a stranger in my neighborhood. But there's always people who would say yes. And then once you would say yes, I would say, I'm not looking for pose pictures. I'm just going to hang out with you and get something natural. Here's something natural. Giant Burma pythons. 4 giant Burma pythons. If you're walking down the street, you see these guys with their snakes, how many people are going, I'm walking on the other side of the street? How many people would go, cool, snakes, I'm going to talk to those guys? All right. I am just like you. I have my own set of biases. How many people here feel that other people have stereotyped you, have made assumptions about you? How many people here have made assumptions, negative assumptions about other people? If you're not raising your hand, you are lying. This is the way we are. How would you get beyond those assumptions? How would you really know what was going on in your head has any truth to it? How would you know? You'd have to talk to that person. This is what I do. I photograph and talk to thousands of people. I'm always confronted with my own biases. And then once they say yes, then I'm just trying to understand what's a good photograph. Often I will ask if I could photograph in people's homes. Amazing how many people allow me into their homes. Does anyone here put their stuffed animals on the wall like this? Anybody? How many people think this is kind of creepy? Most 6th graders think this is creepy. Then I ask them, why do you think they would do this? Sometimes a student would say, well, maybe they've got so many stuffed animals, they don't know what to do with them. Maybe they're so precious, handed down from generation, they put them up like artwork. Maybe they've got dogs. Or maybe they're like dream catchers, protect them while they sleep. I think shapes have meaning. What shape do they form? What shape do they form, those two people? So a possible interpretation could be they're so close they're like two halves of a heart. How do you read my photographs? Took this scene, people hanging out in front of their homes on the sidewalk. Do you see this anymore? Not very often. I photographed for about half hour. You never know where the photograph is going to be. Turned around and saw this. Are they more different or more the same? Hard to say. Which one's grumpier? Also hard to say. Circle of life. Kind of like the same photograph. Everything revolves around this tree. Black and white car, black and white bicycles, black and white shoes. The boy's pants are black and white, like the bark on the tree. Play of light and shadow. Black and white photograph, black and white boys. In this photograph, they're not just friends. In this photograph, they are mirror images of each other, even the way they're holding their hands. Sometimes a sixth grader will say, oh, they're making the infinity symbol. They're friends for life. Excellent interpretation. But to me, this photograph suggests questions central in our society. Questions like, when are we different? When are we the same? Do you think that for these two boys, that's even a question? What do you think? Probably not. What will happen when they grow up? How much will their friendship shape who they are as adults? How much will they become socialized? How did you grow up? Who were your friends? This is what I do. I walk around and I photograph everyday life. How are we formed by images? She is Egyptian. Her family's from Egypt. They are Muslim. She says that her father wants her to cover her head, but she wants to be like those photographs. Straight A student. How are we formed by images? Which one do you like better? How many people like this one better? How many people like this one better? How about this one? They adopted 4 children. This is their youngest. I took this photograph 18 years ago. Last month, the baby emailed me. Graduated from high school, her prom photo. What do you see? No wrong or right interpretation? I'd like you to spend 1 minute talking to the person next to you about what you see. 1 minute. Give me another sign in 4 minutes. 4 minutes left to go. All right. How many people think that's a lot of people in that room? That looks pretty crowded. How many people think no one's looking at each other, they're kind of disconnected? How many people go, this reminds me of our family, my family get together? How many people think maybe it's a funeral? How many people think, what's that thing on the floor? It's a pig. Now what do you think? This is a ceremony. It's among family and clan. A lot among our animists believe in the spirit of animals, believe that the spirit of the animal can help bolster the spirit of the child. They bring in a shaman, spiritual doctor. He performs the ceremony. They tie a rope from the pig to the child. People come in, people come out. Lasts for over an hour. Then they took the pig into the kitchen and they killed the pig. I've never seen a pig killed. They took the pig to a slaughterhouse, came back, and had a big feast. How many people think that's all pretty weird? What is weird to you is someone else's normal. Your normal is someone else's weird. How many people here have been to First Communion? Why are these 3 young girls dressed like brides? They are going to commune with Jesus. And they symbolize this union by doing what? They drink the blood of Christ and they eat his flesh. Correct? I think if you look at life really closely, it's all pretty weird. But who gets to say what is weird? Who gets to say what is normal? Do you get to say? Do the people around you? How much does society shape this idea of what is normal? Whether you're a Vikings fan, Kiss fan, or celebrating Day of the Dead. Who gets to say what is normal? Spent 4 years photographing everyday life in the neighborhoods along Lake Street. I've had my photographs displayed in major museums, but what I'm best known is for putting those photographs in public spaces. And then in one of my projects, I decided to give people chalkboards. Because I felt that after photographing for so long, no matter how good the photograph is, it's still just a surface description. How can you create a photograph that gives a glimpse of what's underneath? I thought, I'll give people chalkboards. Ask them questions like, what advice would you give to a stranger? Describe an incident that changed you. I used to fight a lot. It was fun. Now I'm a teddy bear. So people holding up statements. Can you imagine what life would be like if you walked around with a chalkboard that said something about you that no one would guess? Everyone's holding a piece of black construction paper. I'd like for you to turn to the person next to you and discuss this question for 1 minute. What is important to you and what is important to society? 1 minute. How much time?
You have about 2 minutes or so.
Okay. Okay. I'd like to have them write their answers in the small groups.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I'd like you to continue this conversation in your small group, and with that black construction paper, write down your answer to those questions in your small groups. What is important to you and what is important to society? And then I'd like you to discuss, what is your camera? I photograph thousands of people, but this is with a camera around my neck. How can you talk to people on this campus? What will you say to them that goes beyond, how's the weather? How can you have a conversation that goes beyond the weather? I'd like you to spend 1 minute talking to the person next to you about how you could do this. How are you going to go about getting outside of your bubble and talking to people you normally don't talk to? 1 minute. Okay. And then after this, I have a final statement, and that'll be it.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, you can continue this conversation in your small groups. How can you go beyond a superficial conversation with someone you don't know? How will you do that? And then, after you discuss the questions, write something on a chalkboard that reveals something about you. It doesn't have to answer those specific questions. Write anything on a chalkboard that reveals something about you. And then, photograph each other and post those photographs on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. These are your hashtags. They'll also have the hashtags in your small groups. Sound good? All right. You will create a portrait of who you are. What is important to you? What is important to society? Is what is important to you different than what is important to society? What is important to you affects society. This campus is a society, and now you are part of this society. But how can you make it more of a community? What you did today, what you're doing today, is a start. Thank you very much, and good luck.
All right, so did we pick a good speaker? All right, give him another round of applause. There you go. All right, so like Wing said, respect you doesn't end when you walk out those back doors, right? You're going to continue this conversation with your new friends, your new roommates, but also your friends and your family back home, okay? There are plenty of events on campus to help you continue the conversation and learn about how to have it. Whether those events are the greater than 7 events, whether they're events put on by Minnesota Student Association, that's your student government, or whether it's the Appleby Open House. There's on the back of your chalkboard, there's a sticker for the Appleby Open House. That is in October. It's October 6th. So you're going to mark your Gopher guides. You're going to put it in your GCals. You're going to put it on whatever other calendar you use. You're going to go to the Appleby Open House in this October on the 6th, all right? I hope y'all had a good time at Respect You. I hope you got a lot out of it. I hope the message is loud and clear. We're gonna dismiss you by sections here so that it's not all cluttered and a traffic jam. You're gonna have a great rest of the U of M day, and you're gonna have a great rest of Welcome Week, all right? One more round of applause for Wing.